We didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very innocent man.
Now that Donald Trump is a convicted felon, what happens next? Which rights will be stripped from the GOP frontrunner in these unprecedented circumstances?
I'm the leading candidate.
Let's get the big questions out of the way. Yes, Trump can still run for president and be the president as a convicted felon because the requirements for the presidency are shockingly thin. Candidates must be at least 35 years old, be natural-born citizens, and must have lived in the country for at least 14 years. Check, check, and check. But what if he's locked up? Well, experts think it's unlikely the 77-year-old will face prison time because he's never been convicted of a crime before, and the judge will likely want to avoid the ripple effect of locking up a former POTUS. Rather, Trump will likely just be put on probation and pay some fees and have to report to a probation officer just to do basic things that he'd have to do when running for president, like traveling out of New York State. But let's say Trump does serve time, with the Secret Service in tow, since he's obligated to receive that protection for life. Trump could theoretically run for president and even be the commander-in-chief while in prison, despite not being able to cast a vote for himself to get there. That's right. If Trump is serving time on Election Day, he can't vote for himself or anyone.
I voted for a guy named Trump.
Because he was tried and convicted in New York, the Florida resident has to abide by New York laws, which deny felonious prisoners the right to vote. Trump could get around that, however, by appealing the conviction and delaying his sentencing to after the election, which he's already promised to do.
You're going to be appealing this scam.
And then proceed to vote while on probation, which is allowed. So, besides the right to vote while locked up, what other rights does Trump lose as a convicted felon? Not many. The right to serve on a Florida jury until he's paid his fees and completed his sentence. The right to possess firearms and ammo or transport them. But can't Trump just pardon himself if he becomes president again? He could if he was convicted of a federal criminal charge, because presidential pardoning power has its limits and doesn't extend to state-level crimes like these. But it's important to note that Trump is currently facing 3 other criminal cases, 2 of which are federal. Trump's 34 Class E felonies in this case stem from the former POTUS disguising payments to attorney Michael Cohen as legal expenses when they were actually used to pay off and silence adult film star Stormy Daniels ahead of the 2016 election. Daniels says she and Trump slept together in 2006, and a decade later, Trump didn't want news of the affair getting out and potentially hurting his election chances, so he paid her off. Trump, who was 60 and starring on The Apprentice at the time, denies the tryst with Daniels, who was 27. But Daniels called it the least impressive sex she'd ever had in her memoir, swore under oath that it happened, and that it was brief. Trump's sentencing is scheduled for July 11th at 10 a.m. New York time, just 4 days before the Republican National Convention.